Magnet allows up to 5 strong pieces of evidence for non-EO exemplars, and this is where sometimes teams can run into issues. I either see one of two things. First off, sometimes teams won't gather enough evidence up front, and then that leads to some scrambling down the road. Or number 2, sometimes they might select weak or maybe even incomplete evidence that doesn't fully substantiate the story. And this is exactly why I like to have a backup exemplar. As you start gathering evidence in this step, you may realize that you don't have enough documentation to actually substantiate your original ideas or your story. And if that happens, having a backup example can really save you a ton of time and frustration. I've seen teams have to scrap entire exemplars because they couldn't provide enough evidence to meet the SOE requirement. And that meant wasted time, wasted effort, and then of course, if it happens too late in the game, it can cause a lot of stress and scrambling. So trust me, you do not want to be in that situation. So here's what I recommend. When you're gathering up evidence, first, really cast a wide net. Start by gathering literally everything you can get your hands on, anything that might be relevant to your example. Then I recommend checking against Magnet's guidelines. So not all documentation qualifies as supporting evidence. So before you narrow it down, really review the Magnet Manual's evidence guidelines to really make sure that you're collecting something that's actually acceptable. Now, there are many different types of supporting evidence that can be used, including policies and procedures, meeting minutes, emails, newsletters, memos. We're not going to necessarily go through all of them today. Again, check your Magnet Manual for more specifics on what qualifies as strong, acceptable evidence. It's important to note here that just because you gather up a document does not mean that you'll necessarily use it. So this step is really all about collecting everything possible so that you have many different options to choose from when you start to select your strongest, best evidence in the next step.